Today, we will be discussing mental health and how to cope during the busy holiday season. Joining me today is LaWanda Smith Dudley.
Such an honor to be here. So thank you for having me.
Again, thank you for joining us, and we're going to jump right in and get started and talk about depression and how to cope and combat those feelings and emotions that we may battle over the holiday
Mhm.
seasons. During the holiday season, there are so many things that people have to deal with. They're dealing with financial issues. They may
Right.
be dealing with maybe it could be social anxiety, getting together with people. Um,
Hmm.
in social settings that they may not be comfortable with, as well as the pressure of the holidays, the hustle, the bustle. So we talk about some of these stressors that can trigger depression during the season. How can we manage that beforehand, particularly with someone who is already battling depression?
Well, the first thing I think, and the most important thing, is to know what triggers you. Depression is, it can be managed, but we have to understand what triggers it, what triggers our depression, and being able to identify things to help us cope with it. Knowing your triggers and learning how to avoid those, so you can learn how to manage the depression, and it won't create overwhelming episodes for you. And another way I can explain that is, if I know that if I'm a diabetic, and then I know there's certain foods and certain things that I can't do. I know what spikes it, learning what spikes it, learning, the proper way to manage it, learning the proper things to do to help me be able to cope with it will be another similarity to depression. Because if understand what sets it off, then I'm going to be able to learn how to
That's
cope.
fine. Is it possible then for um, depression to strike anyone during the holiday season? Someone maybe who has never even battled depression before,
Mhm.
even
Yes,
children, perhaps.
yes, yes. Let's say at the holiday season you lost your job, you're going through a divorce. Those type of things happen. You have an unexpected tragedy. Of course, that would set off a depression because it affects your life in a way that you've never had to deal with before. So those things they occur when we are adults and we have children. When we are depressed, when we're moody, when we are experiencing different types of things of that nature, it affects the kids. If a parent is struggling and complaining about they don't have their money to buy this, they don't have money to do this, and so forth, a child, they're going to feel that. So children are affected by the adult's emotion, and it just trickles down to them. And then, of course, it definitely can affect them um,
You
overall.
mentioned socialization and getting out. Is that sometimes good? Can that be helpful or not during the season? Maybe someone with social anxiety, maybe not so much. And if that is the case for those who battle maybe social anxiety, what are some of the other things they can do while people are getting together so much over the holidays?
I would encourage people who have social anxiety to not to feel what they feel and be okay with what they are, and not allow the opinions of others to force them into an environment that they're not comfortable with, because it's only going to intense the anxiety. Seek help to try to understand and help you overcome the social anxiety.
So, what would we say then for someone perhaps who has never battled depression and maybe now the season is just a little bit overwhelming for
the
them?
the most important thing as you support is to listen. Just listen to the person and help them. Sometimes you can't help them, but you can listen, and you can always encourage them and say, I'm here for you. And what is it that you need? Those type of questions. What is it that you need from me? How can I assist you? Sometimes we don't know how to do that. I think that has been a huge issue. Because I'll give you just I lost my father 5 years ago, and my mom has, she's still coping with it. And we've had people will tell you, when you are going through grieving is a process, and you can't tell me how long can grieve or should grieve, but people do that. We do that. And so knowing understanding that sometimes you don't understand what the person is going through,
Mhm.
but to learn to be a support in it.
That's a great point you bring up, and
Mhm,
particularly when you mentioned about grief, right? So,
mhm,
how does someone um, maybe who has lost a loved one,
mhm.
um, and this is maybe their first holiday without that person, or maybe not just their first holiday, it could be, like you said, years later. Um, what can they do to get through this season um, when they're still grieving?
I've always said that to celebrate that person. It's gonna be hard. Let me just say this. It's gonna be hard. It's just hard. It is hard. I'm not gonna say you, but to celebrate that person, to make it to make it a little easier for you or for the family, or as possible, is to create a legacy. Create a legacy for that, a memory, in memory of that person. That may, and then what that looks like is, that may be, that person may have loved had a favorite charity. So we're gonna donate to this charity this year in that person, in our loved one's name.
Mhm,
Or we're gonna go and volunteer, in our loved one's name.
mhm.
Or let's just create the favorite dish. This is something that I did last year. We had a support group, grief counseling group, and we did this. The fact we got recipes, the recipes of our loved ones, and their favorite food.
Okay.
And so everybody, chipped in and cooked their favorite food, and we met and ate. You know, so those type things are you can do to celebrate your loved one and create a legacy, and then be intentional about doing it every year. If it's on their, Christmas, if you want to do it during the holiday season, but create something to do on their birthday, create something to do on their anniversary. And that way you're still celebrating that person's life.
Mm.
Okay. So I would just say, yeah, to create a legacy.
No, I like that.
Mhm.
Christmas, right? And
Mhm.
those holidays fall in that season, that winter season when our days are shorter, and so you have more darkness in your days. And um,
Mhm.
what are some of the things that people can do to battle that?
Learning to do things that they enjoy doing. Exercising, manage depression, social support. We should be encouraging people to have mental health annual checkups, because life happens, things are going to happen. And at that point, you don't want to have to start pursuing or seeking a counselor. You should already have someone that have built a rapport with, and you can pick up that phone and make an appointment, instead of getting in crisis and then trying to find someone else. During this time too, we can self-medicate a little bit more, how to manage it because of the holidays. So there may be an overindulging in eating, or overindulging in drinking, over, spending, and
And
so
so
forth.
let's talk about that for a minute, because that's an excellent point, where people will use vices, right, to get through this. And again, um, people have to be cognizant of what is going on for their loved one, as well as maybe if someone else for themselves cannot see what is happening, perhaps a loved one can maybe be on the lookout for certain things. Are they drinking too much? Um, Kind of hard to tell someone they're eating too much.
Yes, it is.
These are things I believe, that people use, right, to get through.
Right.
And maybe in doing so, and not
Mhm.
even maybe, but in doing so, they put themselves in a worse position, right, at a greater
Right.
disadvantage. If you're spending, and you know shopping makes me feel better, so I'm going to
Mhm.
shop, and then when you get that bill later, or you've exhausted all of your funds, now you're in another situation. Eating makes me feel better, so I'm going to eat. This is all the goodies are before me, and then you add on a couple of pounds, and then you feel terrible about that. um
Mhm.
Using substances,
Yep.
substance abuse, that also can be something that, obviously, that is something that will
Right.
turn around and have a negative effect. So, um again, there are lots of things that people, I guess, should be looking out for. As a mental health professional,
Mhm.
do you see an increase with clients during this time?
Actually, I see a decrease.
That's good.
I see a decrease, and I see a increase probably end of January, February. Yes, because people are involving themselves in the holiday season and they're shopping and they're, getting ready for family traveling and so forth. So and I'm going to say this, I don't think it's because people are not struggling with the depression or anxiety. I think it's more so people don't have the time. This is not a priority right now. It's not a priority. So it's something that they put on they put it on the back of their priority list. And then we'll just, after the holiday season, we'll just, pick back up.
Okay. The CDC in their statistics said that um, suicide rate goes down, decreases during December, and it has
hmm
been on that trend with decreasing. However, in the spring and the fall, that's when they see an increase.
And that was explained why, because like I said, people are so consumed with getting ready for, it's Christmas and New Year, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then New Year's all combined and right back to back. So people they have a distraction,
Okay.
um, you know, in this time, even though they are depressed. If a person if going through a depression and they don't know, most of the time they don't know. Most people don't know. They know they're sad. They know that they've lost their motivation. And they're having these symptoms, but they don't know what's going on. So if I can't explain it, how can I get help if I can't explain what I need help from? The parents and friends and teachers or whatever, we need to pay attention and take notice of behavior changes. And even in our adult friends as family members and loved ones as well, just pay attention to the behavior change and ask, is everything okay? I've noticed that you're doing this and you used to do this. Is everything okay? And so that way we can avoid some of the tragic events that we have experienced in these days and times when people don't feel like nobody is, don't feel like they have support, or they're not able to talk to anybody about what they're dealing with.
As we look forward to the new year,
hmm
again, that comes with a host of
Yes.
uh, stressors, anxieties for people, people reevaluating their lives, right, and setting new goals and resolutions, if you will. How do
hmm
we help someone um, prepare for the coming new year without over stressing them?
We must learn how to set goals that are attainable, but just start setting goals weekly. Because if you set the goal weekly, you're more able to look at it on a small scale than the bigger picture. So if I want to lose 40 pounds, if you say you want to lose 50 pounds, whatever in a year, then set the goal weekly. I am going to eat this would be my weekly diet. And so you don't focus on the 50 pounds, you focus on the day-to-day goal or the weekly goal. And then the key thing I always say, to always ask yourself, what can I control and what can I not control? And if we focus on the things that we can't control, then that causes us to get overwhelmed, that causes us to get stressed, that causes anxiety and causes depression. If we focus on the things that we can control, then our lives will be so much easier because we can direct it a little bit more.
So my hope is that um, people will begin to understand and begin to prepare
Mhm.
before things get busy. Make a list of the things that you're going to do this year and the things that you're not going to do. Don't pressure yourself into doing them. Don't overextend yourselves. I think
Right.
that's a a big contributor when people overextend themselves. And know your limits, know your limitations, know what you can and cannot do, and stick
Right.
to that and be good and feel okay about that. It's okay.
Practice self-care. Practice self-care. It's very, very important to practice self-care. Take care of yourself, whether it's walking, exercising, or meditating. Don't overbook yourself because it's very, very important.
Thank you so much for um, taking time out to help enlighten, right, the public about
Mhm.
how to prepare for the holidays. If you're experiencing a mental health crisis, you can call or text the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 988. Again, call or text 988 to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Someone is there to help.